The camera's full, and I don't know how much time I've got on here. Um, so when you're sick and you're getting brain MRIs and stuff, it's good to talk to somebody who knows a bit, who has some experience, how doctors work, how the MRI, how who interprets the MRI. Um, when I started out on this, trying to figure things out, I've been trying to get help for decades, but more actively started learning more about how doctors work and how all of this works about 8 years ago. And I've learned a bunch of helpful things. And when you get a brain MRI or an MRI, the radiologist, it's good to know these things. The radiologist interprets it and writes down their interpretation on the MRI report. The radiologist is a doctor who reads the referral and will look at the report and look at the images of the MRI according to the referral. So they'll be looking for whatever. I know what I'm saying, I just can't get it out. What I'm trying to say is a radiologist there might be something on your MRI that the radiologist just overlooked or that they weren't looking for. So you could have Chiari malformation, you could have, a pituitary tumor or something, and it's just simply overlooked. You'd think, well, how could someone overlook a Chiari malformation when someone is looking at your brain images and your brain is being shoved down your neck? How can someone overlook that? It's overlooked a lot of times. And then also, when you you don't necessarily get your brain MRI. You might not request. Most people don't request a copy of their brain MRI. Your doctor will get that report from radiology. Your family doctor doesn't necessarily look at the images. A neurologist or a neurosurgeon might look at the images. You may not see a neurologist or a neurosurgeon. Your family doctor will get that report from the radiologist report, but you might not necessarily be told what's on that report. Your doctor might tell you you're fine or whatever. For lots of people, their doctors knew that they had Chiari or something and weren't told, or didn't have it explained to them. They were told, oh, it's nothing, it's all right. And maybe they do this when you're not symptomatic. So it's good to know, because if you're sick and you continue to be sick and feel like something's being missed, it's good to know that the radiologist can overlook something, or the radiologist may have not reported something because they weren't asked to look at that certain thing. And your family doctor or the specialist, they may tell you, let's say you're specifically wanting to know if you have Chiari malformation. They may specifically tell you, no, you don't have Chiari malformation, but they may not tell you some stuff that has been mentioned that you would want to know, but they just don't mention it to you. They don't think you need to know, or they don't think you're sick with it, or whatever. Doctors can know that you have different diseases and not tell you. Depending on what country you're in, they legally don't have to tell you if you have certain diseases. They legally don't have to tell you if you have cancer. You can Google that depending on what country you're in. Google it according to, you know, say I live in the United States. Does a doctor have to tell me I have cancer? Does they have to legally tell me that I have cancer? Same with whatever country you're in. Look it up. It's good to know these things because, if you continue to be sick, it's good to have copies of everything. Ask for copies of, the report. And if you still continue to feel misdiagnosed for years, it's good to ask for copies of the referral, because specialists are acting upon how your family doctor, what and how your family doctor is requesting stuff. So it's important how your doctor is writing those referrals to the specialist. Because sometimes I've seen, anyways. So at 4:00 in the morning last night, I'm looking through a brain MRI from a year ago, and I read this stuff. I don't want to mention it yet. I have to talk to somebody about it, how worried I should be. It's about this brain disease, and I think I saw it on the report a year ago, and I thought it was just over my head, a technical term. I didn't understand. It was too complicated for me to understand, and I didn't look it up because I was chasing the whole Chiari thing, which I do have. And so now I'm curious, why didn't the neurosurgeon mention this disease that's mentioned in my brain MRI? And why didn't my family doctor mention it to me? Sometimes I wonder, are they not mentioning things so that they don't worry people? I mean, you can't, you're home at sick, debilitated. I don't know. You know what? There's this thought in medicine. Why tell people what they don't need to know, sort of thing, that a lot of doctors have that kind of approach. Well, why bother telling the person? Like I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. My doctors knew that years ago. Why bother telling her? They could have told me. I could have protected myself from, a few different medical injuries. I could have started to think about what's the future going to be like with this disease. They knew I had Chiari. No one explained that to me. Like, maybe there are patients who don't want to know what diseases they have, but I want to know. I want to know everything. I find it reassuring, and once you get a diagnosis, when you've been sick for a long time, once you get a diagnosis, it's reassuring, and you know what you're dealing with, right? I don't know of any intelligent person who doesn't want to know what diseases they have, but yet it seems doctors have this approach. But anyways, and I kind of understand it. Why worry somebody out of their minds? But yet, when it's you, I want to know everything so I can read about it and know what the future holds. And, if you can no longer manage in your home, and if you're cognitively declining, and, then you should, move into a place that you can better manage, or, if you're going to need care in the future because, it's good to know that, right? You should realistically know what's coming down the road for you, not pretend, not think that you're okay and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and you think that you're going to get better and have a normal life, when that's not going to happen. You're going to continue to, I don't mean to say rapidly decline, but you're going to continue to decline because you've got, a few diagnosed diseases. You shouldn't be made to think that nothing is wrong with you, and you're wondering why other people are working full time and thriving and going on vacation and stuff, and you're, you know, disabled, but you're being told nothing's wrong with you, basically, right? Like, that's how fair is that to do that? To do that to someone. So anyways, I don't really want to say what this brain disease is, but I'll read you, and sure, I should be concerned. So I'm wondering, why didn't the neurosurgeon mention this? Why didn't the family doctor mention this? I'll read you some of the symptoms. So multisystemic, this is associated with multisystemic, or with systemic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, leading to significant health. Oh, no. Geez. Hang on. Okay, I gotta look something else up. This is kind of... Okay, it's a leading cause of cognitive decline, vascular dementia, strokes, high blood pressure. As far as I know, my blood pressure is fine for now. Damage to the brain tissue, cognitive decline, physical limitations, balance problems, gait issues, walking difficulty, tremors, depression, apathy, urinary urgency. So, and I think I read, I didn't take a screenshot, but I think it said personality problems or personality changes. I have to look up, there's a brain version and then there's a heart version. I need to look up the brain version of this. Cerebral. So, I think this has been caused by, well, I think I can take a pretty decent guess, and I think it's caused by long-term, like, it's brain damage, and I think it's caused by long-term undiagnosed sleep apnea, the damage that long-term low oxygen has done to the brain, and long-term, years of low oxygen to the brain can damage your brain. Undiagnosed sleep apnea, and I'm still sleeping with low oxygen every night. And medications. I think the medications have been overprescribed. Too many respiratory depressants, too many benzos have caused damage to the brain. Too many sleeping pills. So I'll have to read more about this. And okay, so now, so here's an article. One person's story of early dementia, misdiagnosis, and living with this disease. This looks interesting. So that really worries me. I am worried. It looks like dementia might be one of the, long-term symptoms, and